Good afternoon, members of Parliament, support staff, radio listeners, TV viewers, those following via social media, and members of the media. Welcome to this Central Committee meeting number 9 of today, Monday, October 21st, 2024. I would like to give a special welcome to the Honorable Minister of Justice, Mr. Lyndon Lewis, and his support staff. We have established a quorum of 9 members. Please stand for a moment of silence. Maybe seated. It is good to note that members of Parliament Sarah Westcott Williams, Ludmila de Weever, Omar Otley, Egbert Duran, and Artwell Irian are currently on a work travel to Costa Rica to participate in meetings of Parliamentary under the title Migration in the Context of Social Environmental Challenges. I have not received any other notices of absence. Are there any notifications? There are no notifications. We have as agenda point for this meeting discussion with the Minister of Justice on pending matters within the Ministry of Justice. IS number 131-2024-2025, dated October 7th, 2024. This meeting was requested by myself, MP Roseburg, MP Brug, and MP Ludmila de Weever. We go over to the agenda point. On October 7, 2024, Parliament received a letter from members of Parliament, S.D.M. Roseburg, MP R.S.J. Brug, and MP Ludmila de Weever, with a request for a Central Committee meeting of Parliament to discuss the above-mentioned agenda point. The presence of the Minister of Justice was also requested. This document can be found in the General Team of Parliament, hence today's meeting. At this time, I first would like to give the floor to the requesters of this meeting to motivate their request. I give the floor to MP Brug.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair Lady. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, those listening via the different social media, radio, television. Welcome. Honorable Minister and your support staff, also welcome. Thank you very much for taking this meeting. The meeting was called because there are some pressing issues that we feel needs to be answered. Even though we had a committee meeting for the budget and a lot of the questions were asked there still remain a few unanswered questions that we need to have answers for, especially with the recent rise in crime. So as the chair said, for time's sake as well, what we've done, we have compiled all our questions, and on behalf of the URSM, and on behalf of URSM, most of these questions would be given to you via MP Roseburg later on. Thank you.
Thank you, MP Brug. I would like to give the floor to the Minister of Justice to give his opening remarks and our presentation. Minister of Justice, you have the floor.
Good afternoon to the Honorable Chair. Good afternoon to my colleagues. Good afternoon to the people of St. Martin. Sitting here before you today and addressing this Central Committee is a privilege. I would like to sincerely thank the Chair and the honorable members of Parliament for inviting me here to discuss these vital issues facing our justice system. Since I was appointed Minister of Justice on May 3rd, 2024, I have closely observed the many challenges and opportunities within our justice sector. I hope that today's dialogue will help address these pressing matters. First, regarding the medical care, human rights of the detainees, prison management, and safety, there is an urgent need for reform, especially at the Point Blanche prison. The living conditions have been highlighted as inhumane, with reports of insufficient medical care, a lack of structured programs for the inmates, and severe overcrowding. Aside from that, I have noted unexplained incidences of violence and inappropriate behavior between prison personnel and inmates and other alleged incidents of misconduct. While plans are on the way to construct a new prison facility in partnership with UNOPS and the Netherlands, which will solve some of these issues in the medium to long term, I have prioritized addressing immediate concerns to uphold the human rights of all detainees and the integrity of the Point Blanche prison. Second, crime control and law enforcement continue to be a priority. I am proud of the progress made in strengthening law enforcement operations, including our partnerships with counterparts on the French side. However, challenges persist, particularly with rising gun violence in certain hotspots. While the police force remains dedicated to addressing these issues, resource constraints such as a lack of adequate vehicles and need for greater community cooperation continue to hinder progress. We are working to increase the resources available at or to the police force of St. Martin, but long-term structural solutions that consider socioeconomic factors are essential. Third, we have made notable strides in the victim support services, and I am proud of the progress in this area. The Victim Support Services of St. Martin has been actively assisting families, helping victims cope with the release of offenders, and raising awareness on issues such as human trafficking and human smuggling. The collaboration with France victims has also greatly enhanced our capacity to support victims on both sides of the island. Finally, effective administration and clear policies are crucial for a functioning justice system. Since my appointment, we have identified a need to modernize and streamline administrative processes within the Ministry of Justice. This includes revisiting outdated policies, implementing new frameworks for handling complaints, and improving the efficiency of legal case management, particularly in detainee management, personnel issues, and immigration. These reforms aim to reduce delays, ensure timely responses, and create a more transparent and accountable system. In conclusion, I am confident that with all stakeholders, continued efforts and cooperation, we can address these critical issues and strengthen our justice system. I look forward to your questions and engaging in a constructive discussion on our way forward. I thank you.
Thank you, Minister. To which member of parliament can I give the floor? MP La Cruz, you have the floor.
A blessed afternoon, Madam Chair Lady, to the Acting Griffier, the Minister of Justice, his support staff, and fellow members of Parliament, those listening through all the social media. Madam Chair Lady, I have a couple questions for the Minister. Question one. Why are resident permits for partners of St. Martin's still being issued with the condition that they are not allowed to work? Based on a court decision, it was ruled that we cannot put in the residency permit of a partner of a resident of St. Martin, not allowing it to work. So, Minister, could you please look into that? Question two, please indicate where this is shown in the law, or is this to the purview of the Minister? Question three, why does the ministry accept the practice that a suspect who is in detention is automatically transferred into immigration detention on the request of the prosecutor? The prosecutor cannot and or does not have the authority to make this decision to transfer a suspect into immigration detention. If I am wrong, please indicate where in the law this is stated. Question 4. Where are persons being held in immigration detention currently? Question 5. Under what policy or law is it allowed to hold someone in immigration detention? Question 6. Who is authorized to do that, and what is the process? Question 7. Minister, just for your knowledge, the questions were already sent to your support staff, so no one needs to write them down. Why and based on what law is this facility approved to be an immigration detention? Who approved it and based on what standards? Question 9. Minister, are you aware of a recent court decision whereby the court said that you are not allowed to ban a person after he or she has been sent back to the country of origin? What did the ministry do with this court ruling? My following questions are pertaining to the prison. Suspects who are in pre-detention at the police station are being released by the prosecutor's office due to lack of space. Every day, suspects are being released. Is it only a few that are being transferred to Point Blanche? Next question. After sentencing, the inmates sit 2/3 of their time. The minister and the ministry are in charge of deciding on the release after sentencing. The minister gets advice from the probation officer, prison, and the Centrale Commissie for the Reclassering for the advising part, and the release there is no actual role of the prosecutor. Minister, can you tell me if it is correct that a prosecutor has a say or not in who gets released after sentencing? If so, why and based on what law? Following question. Based on case law, the appeal court's decision, the process for early release needs to start at least 2 months prior to the early release date. This never happens. Why is there a backlog on the advices from CCR? Are they still functioning? How many members do we have in CCR? What is the time frame that is needed for an advice? What is the reason inmates don't get their decision on release on time? Next questions. The former minister published a so-called early release and ankle bracelet policy. Is this policy, the early release, due to lack of cell space on the ankle bracelet or under conditions or other conditions? Is at the discretion of the minister? It states verbally, it is mentioned that they have an extra 6 months deduction on their time if there is a situation that they need the cells. Shouldn't there be a transparent policy that applies for all? Because now, how you decide minister, how do you decide, minister, who gets released on time and who not? Next question. Minister, now that we have a serious problem with cell capacity and the suspects are being released after a couple days from police custody and adults are being detained at the MLC, how come we have not introduced the old policy on early release again, which the former Minister Duncan had canceled for no reasons? Aruba, the Best, and Curacao all have this policy. Where's the policy for St. Martin? Minister, during the budget debate, you said that the release of inmates depends on various persons. You mentioned the governor, the prosecutor, and even lawyers. Can you please explain what you mean? Because as mentioned, the release of inmates is clearly mentioned in the law. Lawyers has no say at all on which inmates are being released. If I'm wrong, please clarify. So, according to what we've been hearing, there's a problem with cell capacity. Does the ministry look at the percentage of the time the inmates sat already? The person who has the highest percentage can come out first before their time? How is the percentage being calculated? Do you calculate the percentage from the time they got sentenced, or do you calculate the percentage from the time they actually have been incarcerated? So sentence minus 1/3. Is this also written in a policy, or is it just a verbal agreement? Next question. Minister, what is the status of inmates to get medical help? Currently, a few inmates need urgent medical attention and are still waiting on the ministry to take a decision. Based on recent court cases, the prosecutor's office is stating that the final decision is still being made by the minister. Is this true, or is it? And if not, please clarify. Next question. Based on the law, an inmate needs to work once they've received their sentence. What is the status of this? Why are inmates who have received long prison sentences, why are they still not working? What is the ministry's vision on this? What is the minister's opinion on working outside of the prisons, like they do in St. Kitts, for example, chain gang? Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, MP La Cruz. To which other member of parliament can I give the floor? MP York, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good afternoon, Madam Chair, honorable colleagues, Minister and support staff, and the viewing public. Minister, I think we would all be remiss if we were not to address the elephant in the room. I would have hoped it would have been part of your opening statement, so it was not, so hence my question. You've dominated the headlines in recent weeks for positive things, and as of recent, the headlines have brought more questions than answers. So as it pertains to your person and the ministry, before you answer MP La Cruz's questions, I think the viewing public, as those in this room, would like more clarification on your person and the ministry in relation to the news as of late. Thank you.
Thank you, MP York. Are there other members of parliament that request the floor? Seeing that that is not the case, I myself as well have a few questions. Give me a moment. Minister, I will start with the topic medical care and human rights of the detainees. How does the ministry guarantee the detention of detainees align with the human rights standards, and how is the ministry ensuring that there is no breach with Article 3 of the European Convention law? Just for clarity's sake, I will provide those questions as well as my colleague MP Brug mentioned. Second question, the law allows for the possibility of granting a pardon under Article 611 of the Criminal Procedure Code. Why has it been decided to provide a sentence suspension for the inmate that has been terminally ill and not grant a pardon as based on that article that I mentioned, so that that inmate can enjoy the remaining time that he still has? Other than that, the third question, there are currently still inmates in the Netherlands. How is the ministry ensuring that they are being released on time as I understood that there currently are inmates that had to be released since the beginning of October, but are still incarcerated in the Netherlands. Could the ministry provide clarification in regards to this? My question is now in regards to prison management and safety. How is the ministry ensuring that inmates that need to be transported to other islands, for example, so based on the ORD, onderlinge for example, for medical reasons, are being transported in a timely manner? I have been aware of a situation of an inmate waiting for almost 2 years to be transported to the Netherlands because he's not fit to be detained in the Point Blanche prison, but currently he's still detained there. Also, another question is, who is in charge of the early release of inmates once they are irrevocably sentenced? I understood during the budget debate that there was something mentioned in regards to that, but also seeing what my colleague MP Lacruz mentioned, also the fact of lawyers being involved in that matter, I would like to get that clarified. I also understood that it takes very long for inmates to receive their release date after being sentenced, and also their verdict from the court of first instance or the appeals court. Can the ministry look into this, where the hiccup is, and make sure that that can be tackled, because it can be very frustrating at times when inmates don't know when their release date is. Is there any consideration given by the ministry of the introduction of weekend verlof for inmates close to the ending of the prison sentence? This can also tackle the current capacity issue. It seems like MP Lacruz knew my questions, but we think alike, because my question also is, when will the ministry make use of the option for inmates to work outside of the prison? The law provides that option, and I also believe that it can be seen as a win-win situation. Has the ministry looked into it, or will the ministry in the short term look into that option? Also seeing that there is currently also a lack of manpower, if there's a short-term solution in regards to that. Is there any outcome on the investigation in regards to the attack of an inmate in an isolation cell? I read a newspaper in regards to that a few months ago. If so, can that outcome be shared with Parliament if needed in confidential matter? Also in the news article, June 4, 2024, the ministry reported the attack was made possible due to corruption within the prison system. Based on what kind of evidence this statement was made, and has this been confirmed? And if so, have any disciplinary actions been taken? If there is any corruption within the prison, how and in what way has the ministry, what has the ministry done to make sure to root it out of the system, as mentioned in the article of June 4, 2024? Is there currently sufficient staffing to manage the prison effectively and to ensure the safety of the inmates and the staff? If not, what is the current short-term solution to solve this matter? How will the ministry ensure that similar incidents, attacks in the solitary confinement and our other places within the prison will not occur in the future? Also, in regards to in the statement made by the minister when he had his opening remarks, could you maybe also clarify if there is a short-term solution to tackle the current relationships within the prison in regards to staffing and our inmates, and if that is taking place, how that will be tackled? What is also the current percentage of staff working per shift, and how much of those staff are females? So what's the ratio per working hour, so per 8-hour shift? When will there be any public phones placed within the prison? So not through the social worker, but really phones that inmates can make calls to family members, etc. My question is now in regards to crime control and law enforcement challenges. Seeing the current rise in crime, yesterday another shooting on the public road, I do believe, as my colleague MP Doron suggested, it's time for a gun amnesty program. So therefore, my question is, when will this gun amnesty program going to start? What is a short-term solution to tackle the current rise in crime, especially seeing the shootings and the robberies? Seeing that the current prison is full and the crime is still rising, I do suggest, Minister, that it's time to be creative. The law provides the option for alternative punishment. Also, there is currently an ankle bracelet policy, but in my opinion, that policy is just a copy of the law. So is it in the plans of the ministry to make an ankle bracelet policy that tackles the current prison capacity and to make sure that that is being minimalized so that also the ones that are currently committing crimes are fearing to go into prison, because at this moment, there is no space. So it's being, wait, okay, this case will go to, this person will be going into custody and this person will be let go. So will this ankle bracelet policy be made, and then specifically into tackling the current prison capacity? And also, as mentioned by my colleague MP La Cruz, the previous policy that was in place, also referred to as the treintjebeleid, train policy, that the ones that has been serving the longest time, that they will be released prior to the two-third sentence. So you have the option of the two-third sentence, you have fulfilled that, and then you have the possibility of the ankle bracelet. But seeing that we are in this situation at this moment, to even add to that, that percentage-wise, you look into, okay, this person has served the most of their time, and now that person is eligible for early release. If that is being looked into. And also, I'm very curious, if this ankle bracelet policy is being made, how is it being looked at? Who will be eligible for early release? Is it looked at the type of crime, the amount time served, a combination? If the ministry can give some information in regards to that. What concrete steps has the ministry taken to address the material shortages within the police force? This so the police can execute their job accordingly. How is this short-term, how is this being tackled short-term? Seeing that in the budget meeting, the crime fund is also being used without a policy plan, how can we currently make better use of the crime fund? My question in regard to the policy of the crime fund that needs to be put in place is possible maybe to divide a percentage used for justice to tackle the justice-related matters, and a percentage being used for projects. For example, how it's being done in Curacao, where a percentage, as the minister mentioned, police cars need to be purchased, so that's to tackle within the Justice Institute, but then that also a percentage is being used for projects, because if that is not the case, it's possible that everything will go to projects or everything will go to justice-related matters. And I do believe that that was not the idea of the crime fund. Given the fact that the police corps has already been reduced by 50%, what measures has been implemented to ensure that justice personnel remain motivated despite the limited resources and unsolved working conditions? What is the short-term plan to bring the amount of officers to a higher capacity? What is the current status of the Landsrecherche, given the fact that there's no head Landsrecherche appointed? On what timeline will this position be filled? Is the person that was fulfilling this position for years being considered for this position? How does the minister assess the effectiveness of the current measures against the rising crime? And what additional actions are being considered to curb this growth? Seeing the rising crime, I also proposed a community safety project in regards to the rising crime, which can be executed via the crime fund. Seeing that the funds of the crime fund are currently being used without the policy plan, I would like to ask if also this project can be put on the priority list to be executed, seeing the alarming situation in the rise of crime. What is the ministry's plan to collaborate with other ministries and social organizations to address the root causes of crime, such as poverty, unemployment, and lack of opportunities for the youth and ex-offenders? How is the ministry planning to tackle, again, the rise of crime, especially in light of the reduced budget? Are there plans to reassess the priorities or to seek additional funding through other channels? If so, how? What specific measures have been taken or are being considered by chain partners such as the Coast Guard, Customs, to effectively combat the illegal importation of weapons by sea and air? How is the cooperation between the police, Coast Guard, Customs, and other relevant agencies being improved to create a unified chain approach in the fight against crime? How will the preventive role of community police officers be further strengthened and supported within the broader chain approach? Are there short-term options to improve control, for instance, through technological advancements or intensified collaboration with neighboring countries? Now my questions in regard to victim support and legal assistance. And also the police doctor at the police station. What is the reason that there's currently no police doctor available, and how will this be addressed short-term? What current budget for victim support services is allocated for material assistance for victims? And what does the support of the victim support services currently assist of? Seeing that I have experienced that a lot of times there's also legal assistance needed for victims, is there currently in the victim support system any budget available for legal, psychological, and psychiatric support for victims? If not, how will that be tackled short-term? Maybe also through the crime fund? Administrative processes and policies. What specific documentation, I think I asked this question in the past already, but just for clarity's sake, is needed and are required for persons, individuals to retrieve the impounded scooters from the police? And how is this process being handled currently? As I understood, that is not clear for a lot of people in the community how to receive back their scooters. And once they are going to the police station, there's a back and forth, and a lot of times the scooter is not being given back. So just for clarity's sake, can the steps to retrieve back your scooter, can that be clarified and maybe also placed on the ministry's website or the police pages? What is currently being done awareness-wise to tackle domestic violence and also child abuse? We have been seeing several court cases in regards to child abuse. Is there currently an awareness program ongoing? Is there a specific hotline the community can call? Are the justice workers currently aware, the ones that, for example, have received their landsbesluit, that they can file an objection? If so, how much objections have been filed so far by the justice workers? Recent concerns have also been raised regarding internal transfers of employees within the Ministry of Justice. Specifically, quite some time there are incidents indicating that certain transfers may be motivated by personal grievances or spite rather than objective or thoughtful decision-making. Could the ministry clarify the procedure and criteria used to transfer employees from one department to another department within the Ministry of Justice? Additionally, what safeguards are in place to ensure that such transfers are conducted fairly and in the best interest of both the different departments and its employees? While the function book for the police has already been enacted into the law, The function book for the Custom Department remains pending. Could the Minister of the Ministry provide an update on the status of the function book of the Custom and also the prison, including the timeline for its finalization and enactment? Additionally, what are the key challenges delaying its implementation, and how does the ministry intend to address these issues to ensure the Custom Department and also the prison operates with the same legal framework as the police? The dismissal of the acting head of the National Detectives, based on research, has also raised concerns, particularly as this key position remains vacant. It has been mentioned as well that an internal investigation is underway regarding the former acting head. Could the ministry provide an update on this status, if needed, confidentially? Additionally, what steps are being taken to ensure that this critical leadership role within the National Detectives is filled promptly and in a manner that upholds integrity and effectiveness of the department? There are also growing concerns about the status of the national decrees for remaining justice employees, as delays in finalizing these decrees are reportedly affecting staff's morale. It has been brought to my attention that some justice workers are considering resigning and seeking employment in neighboring islands due to unfulfilled promises. So can the ministry provide an update on progress on these national decrees and outline what measures are being taken to ensure that these commitments are honored and in order to retain valuable personnel within the ministry? As I mentioned, we're currently at a 50% capacity and we cannot lose any more justice workers. As I mentioned as well, in regards to the ankle bracelet policy that has been drafted, as I said, it seems to be a copy of the law. I know that this ankle bracelet policy was not drafted by the current minister, but seeing that I haven't seen a new ankle bracelet policy, I urgently advise that there's a new policy drafted that provides the options of early release of inmates, and also that there's being looked into the option of house arrest, and to make sure that the current capacity issue is being tackled. This will also send out a strong message to the public that if you commit a crime, you will go to jail, as currently there does not seem to be any consequences, or at least facing after committing a crime. Also, Minister, I would like to know what is the current amount of outstanding verdicts? So how many people are currently awaiting to serve their time in prison? And what kind of plan is in place to tackle that matter? And how is it being decided? Once there is capacity, who will be going into prison? Is there a procedure for that? And if so, can that procedure be described? Those are my questions for now. I will now give the floor to MP La Cruz.
Thank you, Madam Chair Lady. Just a comment and then two more questions. Could the minister provide us with the laws under which conditions an inmate is granted a pardon? And this question stems from the comment from Madam Chair Lady that an inmate was or will, under terminal illness, will be released, but the MP is asking why not a pardon. So I'd like to know what other conditions and under what conditions that is possible. And then, Madam Chair Lady, to you, one of the things that I've always said is that our Minister of Justice should not only be called the Minister of Justice. The Minister of Justice should have the title Minister of Justice and Rehabilitation. And is that an idea that the minister could float with? Because once you add that to it, then it will be expected that we start looking at rehabilitation for our inmates. And then one more comment. There's a song from Lucky Dube that says, they don't build no schools anymore. All they build is prisons, prisons, and prisons. And whenever I look at the budget and whenever I hear about the nice facility that is coming, it hurts seeing that we are spending so much monies on a prison, but schools are still without ink and paper or textbooks to print. And Minister, through you, Madam Chair Lady, you were the best person to deal with these issues, seeing that you had board portfolios. So these are things that I'm definitely going to look forward to hearing ideas on how we could move forward with these issues that we have. Thank you, Madam Chair Lady.
Thank you, MP La Cruz. Just to add to what colleague MP La Cruz mentioned in regards to the rehabilitation and resocialization, are there currently any plans or any programs that tackle the resocialization and rehabilitation within the prison system? And then I'm referring to Point Blanche Prison, but also to the Miss Lally Center. And if so, what programs are currently in place? Also, is there a program currently in place in regards to the school and the school fights to make sure that from within the schools the crimes are being tackled? Is there a specific list? I can remember, for example, in the Netherlands, you have like the persons that commit crimes very often. There's a list, they call it the top 500. Is there such a list for St. Martin so that the different stakeholders are aware, okay, this is the current group of persons that need specific attention, and then I'm referring to the youth, but also to the current adults, so that specific programs can be put in place for this group. I just wanted to add those questions to the list of questions. And as I mentioned, Minister, you will receive those questions as well in writing. That being said, are there other members that request the floor for questions? Seeing that that's not the case, thank you, members of Parliament. I will now adjourn to discuss with the Minister to find out if and how many time is needed to prepare the answers for the members of Parliament. The meeting is adjourned for 5 minutes. Meeting adjourned. Welcome back. After caucusing with the minister and seeing the amount of questions, the minister has indicated that he needs about a week to provide the members of parliament with the answers. The minister has indicated that he will answer the question of MP York at this point in time. So before adjourning the meeting until further notice, I give the floor to the Minister of Justice for his closing remarks. Minister, you have the floor.
With response to your statements, through you, Madam Chair, MP York, when I take this office as Minister of Justice, it was a dream come true. Would you understand what it means it was a dream come true? I'm employed with the Justice Ministry for 17 years. I'm the first homegrown minister. I have been a controversial figure within the Ministry of Justice because I fought for the rights of myself and of my fellow colleagues. Management teams don't like that. And one thing I learned from Mr. Rummy, who taught me the police rules and regulations in Curacao, is that your boss will always know your plichten, your obligations, but forget that you have rights. So I understand when I enter this office that one day somebody will walk into my office because of who I am and what I stand for. This position is honorable. Whether it's honorable to the prosecutor's office, or to police management, or to the R.S.J, it is honorable to me. And do you understand why? I was born and raised in this country. This is my country. So understand when I say, they also exaggerated on the because this minister haven't done anything wrong when he sat in this position. We have problems when I have to deal with former colleagues who have been my senior, that today that I'm their boss, will do anything to see Minister Lewis fail. But it's not going to happen. Do you understand why? Because who stand before me is in control. The Bible says this, no weapon formed against you will prosper. And it only means one thing. The Bible didn't say that weapons will not be formed. It says they will not prosper. I reach here after 17 years, after 9 years being sent home, after they have tried their utmost best to find something to prosecute me because I stand for the rights of the people. They will try anything today to see me fail. But I don't fear no man that is bleed and breed like me. They came in specifically for electronics. In my office, they tackled one of my colleagues, in which they were also looking for the minister also to get their devices. The laptop is right here. They can come right into this honorable house and take the laptop and the phones because I have nothing to hide. I execute my job with the highest integrity. The OM makes space for who they want to. All right? They make space for who they want to. Because I just got a message from the Immigration Department again pertaining to an overdraft. I am accustomed of getting overdraft from the OM for even bolita slickers. People that smuggling drugs in being sentenced for no crime in this country. But when somebody petitioned their minister on their rights, and I have my colleagues who all is distributed with the work, to execute their job, they are the ones being attacked. It shows me where our interest lies in this country. As Minister of Justice, and yes, I like the name Minister of Justice and Rehabilitation, how much do we care about our people in this country? I have prisoners that are calling me through social workers pertaining to their eyesight. Also about the same prisoner that had a tumor, I spoke to the prosecutor's office a few weeks or months ago, whatever it may be, I stand corrected. And I was explained, do you understand the crime that he had committed? But after these questions came up, they gave a negative advice before. But all of a sudden, recently, I also got a positive advice because this is going to be brought up in Parliament. That is what I think all of a sudden I got a positive advice for. I'm here to play with the emotions of the people of this country. I am the Minister of Justice, and it means something with me. When people see me, they see justice. Because again, I came from this ministry, I lead this ministry, and how can I, for example, to show you that I can think there is a personal issue within the judicial system with Mr. Lewis, is when Bezadkar came here and visited the Council of Ministers and could explain to me that they were let known that the police cells is in a deplorable state. So I asked them, but how they know about that? They told me they learned about that through the police management and also the prosecutor's office. But the Minister of Justice, who's responsible for the upkeep of the police cells, for the upkeep for Belating Behavior in this ministry, was not notified by the police management nor the prosecutor's office. I was notified by someone that was recently arrested and tell me about the time spent in the prison. So yes, I sit here not in fear of no one, not even the prosecutor's office, not even the police management or the prison management. I sit here as a leader of this country. When will St. Martin leaders stand up and actually lead in this country? That is what I keep asking myself. Who is the ministers in this country? Is it department heads? Is it the prosecutor's office? Or is it us that took an oath to serve this country wholeheartedly? Again, I would say there are decisions that ministers make. They are advisors, and we don't have to take their advice. So, of course, when you don't take their advice, you will sit in the type of hot water that I'm sitting in. But I'm here to tell each and every minister of any country that you are a leader. And from the time you took a stand to lead a country, these are the type of things that will happen. But only God will protect us all. And with that, I will answer the balance of the questions in a week's time.
Thank you, Minister. If there are no further comments, I will adjourn this meeting as explained previously. Meeting adjourned.